It's a Hero High video. It's so over for Starfield and Bethesda. Bethesda used to be one of my all-time favorite gaming companies, and in recent years, they have really fallen from grace pretty freaking hard. Let's see what's going on. I played Starfield. I might play it on stream someday. I pretty much I couldn't finish it. It was boring. I hated it. Even though it's everything I've ever wanted out of a game. Like, or rather, the promise that Starfield gave was everything I ever wanted out of a freaking video game. It just failed to deliver so badly. I didn't even finish the main campaign. Let's go ahead and watch Hero High talk about this recent situation happening with Starfield and Bethesda.
Starfield currently has a review score of around 56%, and its
That's
DLC,
too high, to
Shattered
be honest.
Space, is all the way down at 30%. And we've got absolutely hilarious cope here from Bethesda. First, I'll show you what they say, and then I'll explain why this is such hilariously pathetic cope. Games Radar says, Starfield's first expansion launched to mixed reviews. Well, that's currently putting it very generously, but continuing. One of the most common complaints about the DLC, however, was its lack of content in the form of new features, and that's why adding the first ever drivable land vehicle in a Bethesda RPG beforehand felt like it might have been a wrong move. As Microsoft gaming lead Phil Spencer reveals in an interview with GameFile, Howard was worried, that being Todd Howard of course, was worried that the rover's earlier debut as part of a free update was a bad decision on his part. So just to be sure that we're all on the same page here, they're attempting to make the argument that releasing the Rev 8 rover, this buggy thing that you can drive around, before the DLC might have actually hurt the public opinion of the DLC. In other words, they're suggesting that the rover, the Rev 8, whatever it's called, could have actually carried the DLC if they would have waited to release the Rev 8 along with the DLC instead of like a month earlier. This is a terrible...
Brother, the maps, the planets in the game are so freaking barren and empty, and all of the actual mission areas are so copy-pasted and so repetitive. Like, putting a vehicle into the game that lets you get through a lot of the barren wastelands of absolutely nothing in the game would not have saved it. The game is fundamentally broken. Not only is it glitched out to all hell, like literally at some points when I tried to, like, I would literally hire companions, and when I would get on my ship, none of them would be in the ship because it was just glitched out. My companions would stay on the planets. They would not follow me anywhere. They would not go with me. They would not join my crew. Like, the game was fundamentally broken from scratch. The dialogue is garbage. The storyline is garbage and boring. All these promises of, like, you could become a space pirate, you could become a mercenary, you could become like, you couldn't do any of that. There were bounties, but you really, like, there was no freaking role-playing whatsoever. You played one role, and that's the hero. You couldn't be a villain, you couldn't be a bad guy, you couldn't do anything. All the freaking enemies, even if they looked a little bit different, pretty much had the same exact mechanics. All the freaking like human bad guys all did the exact same stuff, the exact same animations, the exact same attack patterns. The only difference is they were wearing different clothing. Like, it was a bad game from the ground up. And unless you freaking completely reinvent the game, like a la Cyberpunk, you're not gonna freaking get anywhere.
We'll take for a lot of reasons, but first let's go finish the quote before I continue explaining why. Todd and I were talking about Shattered Space, states Spencer. Starfield is a game I put a ton of hours into and really love, but they've had this thing where they've added features throughout the year, and then they had an expansion. Are these people that out of touch?
The only way to genuinely play the game is to mod it yourself.
A functional map, which the game did not even release into, which it should have had on release, but adding things like a functional map and a few other minor updates here and there, maybe some performance increases for Xbox, stuff like that. Dude's acting like that was such great generosity from Bethesda. And maybe Bethesda should have waited to release that stuff along with the Shattered Space DLC with the expansion. Like, that would have fixed everything. Instead of, actually addressing the issues that people really have with the game. He then delves into fan feedback on Bethesda's approach to Starfield's new content, as well as how it left Howard questioning himself. I think some of the feedback on the expansion is, we wanted more features. And he's like, well, should we have waited to put buggies out?
We want more features! Damn it, next time I'll make sure to give you less features so that when we actually put a DLC out, you'll actually think that that's a good thing. It's like, oh, good! Oh, good! So next time, you're gonna hold back on giving us new features when we frickin' ask you for new features! How stupid can Todd Howard be?
The Bethesda head figured keeping the vehicle...
Bro, it just works, bro. It just freaking works.
Spencer continues. And so I think you're trying to tune both developer effort and the impact of the expansion, and I think there will always be a balance to managing the game month to month, but not every game will do expansions. Bros, I actually can't believe this is a real quote. I can't believe this dude literally thinks, yeah, you know, the buggies, we should have waited for the buggies. We should have
That would
released
have
that
fixed
with the
it.
Shattered Space, and then
That would have
Shattered
saved
Space
it.
would have the very positive reviews, maybe great, overwhelmingly positive reviews. Yeah, it's all because the buggy was released a month before the DLC. That's the problem people have with Starfield and Shattered Space. We were too generous releasing that buggy too soon. Now let's also take a look at some data proving how terrible their take is. Player numbers here, SteamDB chart for Starfield. So, in the weeks before the buggy was released, Starfield had around like 10k players on a good day. When the buggy came out, spiked to around 15.9k before falling back down a bit, and then Starfield Shattered Space releases on September.
Bro, I gotta say, the most fun. Sorry, I have to bring this up right now because at a certain point when I was playing it at my peak, the most fun I had in Starfield was building my own ship. Not even flying it, not even using it. It was just building it. And even then, the building mechanic was broken and buggy as all get out. It was difficult to understand and garbage. Like, it was really, really badly implemented. But it was still the most fun part of the game because I got to personalize my own spaceship. But as soon as you stop being in the builder and you go onto the spaceship and you want to, like, personalize it just a little bit more, you can't do that, can you? No, you have to just go with whatever default freaking stuff they gave you. Like, it's. They basically promised so much and delivered so little, dude.
September 30th, and the player count increases to 21.7k.
And buggies all get out, as always, Bethesda.
However, that only lasted for a couple of weeks, and then the player count was all the way back down to a number even lower than before the buggy was released.
Because they didn't give any actual
Now,
content.
taking a look at the overall chart, you can see here's around where the buggy was released, this tiny little increase, and then the DLC here. And you basically got to squint. You got to like zoom in. You got to like get real close to your screen to even notice these quote-unquote increases. Of course, they also mentioned
after
other
the
updates
DLC drop, you see it drop by more than half of the freaking players.
Starfield has had throughout its lifetime, which
like,
most
they
people
doubled
would
their
probably
players
call
and then
minor
immediately halved
updates,
it again.
You can see that none of this helped the game really. Like, the player count has been consistently terrible, as Bethesda is also consistently not addressing the actual issues that most people have with the game. Meanwhile, over on our No Sodium Starfield, which is like the hive mind subreddit, you gotta censor anything critical of the game there and only prop the game and Bethesda up. In this thread from only 5 days ago, they said,
yes, because from what we've seen in recent days, echo chambers work really well for making money.
Starfield was a massive mask-off moment for the Bethesda community and gaming community in general. Let me preface this by saying, this is not a hate post. I do not condone any attacks, nor do I wish for this to become a, quote, complaint about complaining, unquote, type post. This is just me recalling my past experience in the Bethesda community and gaming community in general, and how Starfield changed that and revealed some harsh truths, and also how it was in the end a positive thing. Oh great.
I agree. At the end of everything, it was a positive thing because the game failed, nobody played it, and Bethesda lost a lot of money on it. Genuinely, it was a positive thing. Hopefully, Bethesda continues to fail every time they make a bad game, and other games like Black Myth Wukong continue to succeed because they actually make a game that people want to play, you know?
Here comes the Corpo Defense Squad. You know, to reasonable people, the harsh truths that would be referenced here would actually be like, Bethesda's kind of hopeless. Like, I have completely lost hope for the next Elder Scrolls, you know, stuff like that, right? But this guy's gonna probably not address any of that stuff. Instead, the harsh truth this person is probably gonna be saying is that the problem is the gamers and the gaming community, and we got a bootleg for Bethesda. They can do no wrong. So the post continues. The OP says,
yeah, you definitely want to blame the people with the money. Always piss off the people with the money because that's the person you don't want their money, obviously. So that's the best way to make a game popular is to piss off the people that have the money. It's always a good idea.
I've been a massive fan of Bethesda games for years, and naturally I became part of the community surrounding those games. And at first,
I call BS. If you were genuinely a fan of Bethesda, you would want them to do better. As a major fan of all things Bethesda, I genuinely think that this is terrible and they're going in a bad direction. And I hope that one of my favorite companies of all time genuinely starts to make changes that improves them and puts them back in the good graces of the overall gaming community.
it was great. I had a lot of fun finding out all the lore and dev secrets as well as theorizing about them. Slowly,
there was very little lore. The lore that was there was really, really, really crappy and very freaking boring. And I will absolutely debate anybody on that. It was stupid. It was very boring. I didn't care about any of the characters in the game because they were all boring as all get out. They were all just freaking like Weenie Hut Junior good guys, and I didn't care for any of them.
Surely, however, I
And
began to
that's
notice
after
this
marrying like the main
mean-spirited
British
attitude
lady
towards the
too.
developers. And at a certain point, I began wondering if they even liked the devs at all, since all I heard is how quote-unquote incompetent and lazy, unquote, they are. But
Yeah, that was pretty accurate actually.
with some research, I discovered that's definitely not the case. Yeah, with some research,
You're delusional. You're very delusional. Honestly.
okay, buddy. Especially when you consider what they managed to achieve with a relatively small team for a AAA game.
Small team.
And it all came crashing down with the release of Starfield. It just came crashing down.
Yeah, Bethesda, really well known as a very tiny brand new indie development team. Bethesda, very small indie team, obviously.
6 had a justifiably bad reception, but it was mostly a spin-off, and over time, it became a pretty good game. But Starfield? Man, everyone in the Bethesda community and in the gaming community in general went after that game. Yeah, we're talking about a small indie dev studio here. For a AAA studio, they're so tiny, it's not like Microsoft is funding them either, or anything like that, right? And a lot of the reasons for doing so seemed very shallow and at points untrue. It was what I consider to be a mask-off moment for the whole community, as it revealed just how much they followed the grift, which seems to be disliking everything Bethesda does for some very stupid reasons. And it was everywhere. Outside of the sub, which is great, by the way. Yeah, the Hive Mind sub that censors anything critical, that's a great place. I don't know if there's any other
Echo chambers,
to
bro.
talk positively to this day. By the way, where's this guy's research he was going to present about Bethesda not being lazy and incompetent?
Yeah, where's all the
he
receipts?
He said he had some research into that, right? And then it just never went anywhere. Everyone went for the kill
But
with
it's all
this.
BS.
And when
He's
you
just
said
making
you
it
liked
up.
the game, you were viewed as a moron or a liar. It made me realize just how far the gaming community strayed from enjoying the games and replaced it with complaining. There are some legitimate criticisms that could be levied at the games, but they all get
Remember it. If you criticize me negatively, it's just complaining. If you criticize me positively, then it's actually a critique.
drowned out with all this clickbait junk. Not to mention all the pretentious gaming critics that don't have any clue about what goes into game development and then act like experts. Like a certain...
Do you have any idea what goes into game development? Because I do. I develop my own game. I'm never going to release it, but I develop my own game. So do you know what goes into it? How many games have you developed?
that said, the game used no design documents, which is utterly
It's not
ridiculous.
that freaking difficult.
The worst part was that creators Ayoo
A lot of places make it. A lot of indie teams make games.
used to enjoy watching turned to the grift as well and became much more unfairly negative. Like, for example, Mr. Matty Plays, who I used to enjoy watching, but now became just another clickbaity channel that complains a lot. But thankfully, this was not a bad experience in the long run for me, as it made me realize just how negatively these communities affected me. I eventually quit them. And
Bro, he personally was affected by people not liking Starfield. You can tell this person has a good brain in their head, bro. When they get offended and genuinely start to get affected by people criticizing a video game that has nothing to do with him and a company that doesn't even care about him or his existence, doesn't even know he exists probably. But he personally gets affected whenever people criticize them. What an idiot!
my own thoughts and opinions on our no sodium Starfield.
How dare
which is
you?
Why today I can write a post.
How
like
dare
this
you
and show
criticize
another
this
positive thing
multi-million-dollar
Starfield has done for me
company?
by helping expose these communities for what they are, and they certainly are not fans. So
It's funny because anytime a game is bad, they complain about the difficulties of video game development. But then you got Black Myth Wukong, Elden Ring, you got Nier Automata, you got Stellar Blade. It's funny because they're all really well loved games, and yet they never complain about game development, do they? It's really strange, isn't it?
Thanks for reading. I hope you liked it, and remember, if
they just made the game good.
Toxic, don't be afraid to leave it. There will always be much healthier alternatives. I gotta say, it seems like Bethesda, Todd Howard, and this dude, they're all perfect for each other, man. All delusional. And when he says that people criticizing these companies don't enjoy games, I don't know if he's specifically referring to Bethesda, because that's the theme of the post was Bethesda. But at the same time, his phrasing made it sound kind of like games overall, in which case, hypothetically, if that is what he meant, let me address that really quick. I've seen other people on various subreddits also make similar takes. For example, when they were defending Veilguard, oh, these gamers, they don't even like games anymore. They just hate. And the fact of the matter is, while we criticize corporations and games That doesn't mean we're not enjoying games. We enjoy plenty of games.
Yeah, we enjoy good games, and we trash garbage games because they're garbage and they're trash.
You can do multiple things in a day. You can enjoy a game and then criticize a game and do whatever else in a day.
Yeah, I love how you can only have one or the other.
Devoid of any nuance. But yeah, I just found this stuff to be very amusing, and I hope you guys did too. If you enjoyed this video, you enjoyed my coverage, please consider liking and or subscribing to the channel. Appreciate ya, and I'll see you in the next one.
Bro, the amount of copium that people be huffing on these freaking like terrible garbage games is freaking hilarious. Dragon Age Veilguard, as somebody who's a super huge defender and supporter of all Dragon Age games, I genuinely had valid criticisms for Dragon Age Veilguard, and I have never received more hatred in my entire YouTube career. And it made me laugh so freaking hard. I decided that I was gonna trash Veilguard even harder moving forward, because there's only one way to cure copium, and that's to bring people back into reality. And so that's what we're here to do. We're here to discuss the reality and how just absolute garbage these games are. Like, it's true. It's really true. Screw bad games. They suck and they're garbage. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. Like, it's pretty simple. Alright everyone, I'm gonna go ahead and share this video on Discord. Please be sure to go drop Hero High a sub, drop him a like, make sure to leave a comment so the algorithm knows that you enjoyed his video. Thank you all so much for sending him love. Thanks for hanging out. Like or dislike, comment, and subscribe, and become a Monodachi today! I live stream all day, Monday through Friday, so go say hi! That's all for now, Monos. Goodbye, and thanks for swinging by. Salut!